All right, welcome to round number 4. This hand is a keep. This is probably a Run Glistener out on turn 1, but it does depend on the matchup a little bit. Steam Vents tapped is an interesting one, though, because we can either just go with this plan and hope, because if they're Storm and we wait, we get a little punished. If they're any kind of blue-red control strategy, whether it be a Blue Moon list or otherwise, they likely have a way to deal with this. I think with the Ink Moth behind, I'm just going to run this out there on the off chance or even high chance that they are Storm. Looks like they're not. But also, my guy's going to live? The strangest of all worlds? No, okay. I was gonna say, it'd be pretty weird. Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there, but run this out there. This matchup can definitely be tough, and I don't feel like our hand is very well equipped for it, especially with the gamble that I took on turn 1. We do have some tools post board, and there are some things we can do, but if we draw a lot of guys, that helps too. I think I am going to grab a breeding pool here. It feels like they have Electrolyze. So I almost want to attack with this rather than play this. Protection from red or blue is fine. The Geist of St. Traft tech in the board, though, I'm interested to see how that pans out here. Should be cool. Another Ink Moth. I guess that's good since they have this Field of Ruin, but let's see here. I'm going to play it. Newly controlled, not newly controlled. If they're going to field, they field in response to that normally, so that you can't just protection spell it. You have to try to animate it again. It costs more mana for you to do so, obviously. I wonder if they could have Settle here. Okay. That makes some sense. So they target Helix. The problem with this Helix situation is that they're going to wait till my end step to cast it on this Ink Moth Nexus. So I think I'm going to do this in response to them targeting it. If they did have something else in hand to interact, we would still have this Blossoming Defense. Now they're just going to Helix my face, obviously, but that's still better for me than, I think, losing one of my pump spells. We basically paid 3 life to just actually get to utilize a pump spell instead of do nothing with it. Or rather, protect our guy with it, which we did not want to do. Next turn, assuming they only have field as interaction, we might be able to get there. Probably not. Interesting draw. Definitely get Breeding Pool. Just paying 1,000,000 life here, but this, which they let me do. How does that change things for me? Maybe they just have multiple ways to deal with it. If I fire up both, could also cast this Blight Agent with no protection. Assuming we get fielded and I don't protect it. What an interesting turn. I guess they also lose the land and don't have a third blue source if I Blossoming Defense and they have removal spell. But it's weird they're not responding to me animating this. It definitely makes me feel like they have other ways to deal with the Ink Moth. I'm going to go for this, even though I think at the end of the day our Ink Moth's going to die. The plus side is I still have 2 Infectors, and they're not going to get their land. So I think I'm okay with this overall. Unless this is a counter spell. Okay, sure. Cannot pay 3 for a Logic Knot. Well, that's kind of a bummer. That's probably the worst case for me. We still have 3 Infect potentially next turn. We do need a little more. Opponent obviously can still have plenty of interaction since their deck is just all interaction for stuff like this, but we'll see what we can do. Certainly we have drawn well for the matchup. Hitting 2 Ink Moths, 2 Glisteners, and a Blighted Agent is very fortunate, particularly for the top 15. So we can be happy with that at least. Wrath of God, sure. So hopefully, nope, not a great draw. I probably should have held that. Yeah, I probably should have held this. It's not like I need my opponent to be thinking about Groundswell, so it doesn't do anything. Definitely supposed to hold that. I also don't think I fire off Distortion Strike here, but I could be wrong. I feel like my opponent does not have anything for red or white there. I don't think they have Bolt or Path if they aren't interested in my end step. Search is fine. Not leaving up Cryptic. They could have Logic Knot, though. Or Lightning Helix. The problem is this doesn't bait them into anything. Doesn't give my thing additional toughness, and they don't need to care about the rebound because I won't have anything if they kill it. Okay, they're responding to it, though, so that's helpful for me. Logic Knot again. Okay. Good news is the search is not flipping in a million years, then. But the bad news is Blossoming Defense is not good enough for lethal. So we'll be keeping that Blossoming Defense around. I could be like fetching Dryad Arbor here and bashing with it. I guess. No, I definitely want Groundswell to be. No, Groundswell would be good enough on its own here, but it wouldn't stop Bolt. So yeah, I guess I'd care more about that. Spellskite is good. They obviously can have Cryptic here, though. Vendilion Click in response. Interesting. Huh. That's really gonna screw up this game for us. They really didn't need to respond to this trigger, though, I don't think. I guess if I have Distortion Strike again... So I guess this just resolves, like... This doesn't make my Ink Moth bigger than a click anyway, and I definitely don't want them to trade. Highly doubt our opponent takes this at this point. I actually don't have a lot of great draws from here. Oh wow, they did take it. I guess I could draw another +2 pump spell from there, but I just feel like they're opening themselves up to me having a better draw when that's not good. But especially when I have Spellskite, that seems just like not... The card doesn't seem good there, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I guess it depends on what their card is. Or could depend on what their card is, rather. Ooh, it's a nice island, though it doesn't match their Guru. See what they do with their scries here, though. I think this game has... I think that click means that we are very likely not winning. I think it's going to buy them enough time that search plus the click should be able to take over. Plus, it's not like I have a high life total, so I can easily just get burnt out by Bolt, Electrolyze, Click Attack. I suppose I have a Spellskite with blue mana up, so maybe that's not a real concern, or a serious concern at the moment, but... yeah, I still think the Dryad Arbor thing is not as relevant. Okay, so now we have to think... I guess I'm way more likely to draw a lethal pump spell than I am to draw my one way to get past this Vendilion Click. Oh no, I literally don't have it anymore. I've been through my Apostle's Blessing and my Distortion Strike. So I definitely just become immense here. I guess I need to do it first. They don't have Cryptic up, so I don't have to worry about them tapping after I do this. So I do this first to see if it gets countered. Yeah, and I think I do full Delve to make like Mana Leak Knot a thing. They also can't have Snap Logic Knot, so that's nice, but they could just have another Logic Knot. They do not. We will attack. I'm sure they will block. And then we need to draw another pump spell next turn. Oh, I'm so silly. I feel like I didn't want them. I said they shouldn't take the... No, yeah, because it didn't grow it outside the clicks range. But I guess what I didn't consider was that it does make... Yuck. It does make some sense for my opponent to have taken the Blossoming Defense with the click. If I find a different pump spell, then I get to get past the click, and then the Blossoming Defense is lethal, whereas if they leave me with defense, or if they take defense, I have to draw both a pump spell that makes it bigger than Vendilion Click and another pump spell to make it lethal. So that's pretty reasonable. I guess I don't show them this yet, but I am going to play it. Glad we didn't get Dryad Arbor, I guess. Oh, you know what, though? This doesn't... Not that my opponent knows this, but this only gets Dryad Arbor. So it's not like I was actually playing around Mana Leak or anything during those turns. So if I actually care about having the mana, I do need to fetch the Dryad Arbor. Not that I think I do care about the mana, but... Getting the Spell Pierce on turn 10 feels pretty good, but... They will potentially get to flip this now. I'm assuming. I mean, if they don't flip it, that's still bad news because they topped something that was great. They do flip it, bend to Colonnade, activate this right away. Is a good sign for us. Come on. Oh, no, they're not activating that right away. Teferi instead. That's a show of strength a little bit more. I guess it can't be a show of strength. They're down to 1 card now after drawing a card from Teferi. No, they played this. My mistake. Yeah, okay. So they could have had like they could have like Cryptic Teferi or something along those lines. I would rather attack with both, but this gives me better game against Cryptic. Does it? They just bounce anyway. I guess if... No, they only have 1 card, though. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to animate them both. I guess I move a phase. Yeah, too bad. If you weren't Noble Hierarch, we have nothing to get here, right? Yes. Needed this to be any kind of pump spell. Man, they even get to activate their Escanta end step here. Yeah, this game is pretty much done. That's too bad. I probably should have fetched last turn so I could attack the Teferi, actually. They grabbed a Bolt. So I need them to have, like, brick, brick, brick. And I draw a protection spell. Secure is a brick as far as we're concerned here, so as long as they're draw step or Teferi draw, I guess they only have 1 mystery card. So if I draw a protection spell, that doesn't count as a protection spell from Lightning Bolt. So now we have to ask ourselves if our opponent's that much, if our opponent's very likely to brick on 1,000,000 cards, which they're not, right? Because they get double Escanta activation. I think I need my opponent to make a mistake is basically where I'm going with this. I think I need to have them let the Exalted trigger resolve. And then have this save it from Bolt. I don't think they will do that. I think this is a very low percentage chance. But I think it's a higher percent that my opponent screws this up than misses on anything relevant on 2 to 3 search activations plus Teferi plus their draw step. Just don't think that's realistic. They, of course, did not screw it up. Not a huge surprise there, but again, I still feel like just in the average game, they're more likely to make that mistake than they are to totally brick on anything relevant with that many cards that they get to look at. I mean, we're talking about them looking at like 15 cards, three search activations and 3 draws. Or 2 draws, I guess, but anyway. That, of course, did not happen, and I will not block and then probably die to Lightning Bolt or Helix or Snap. Not that we can really win this game anyway from here. But maybe we'll get to see a card that we do not expect. It's kind of nice to know about the Secure, I guess. We'll pack it in. Close game. An interesting one for sure. We'll definitely be happy to bring in those. And then these are okay, but I don't want to get over sideboarded here. This is okay. I think those first 6 are absolutely, without a doubt, excellent and coming in. The next 6 or the next few we have to think about a little harder here. Distortion Strike, I don't love. I guess it's like decent with the Geist plan as well, but Growths are kind of questionable here. Need my cards to be like pretty impactful. I'm not really racing. I just need each individual card to be worth quite a bit. And I need like all my protection spells. So I probably shave on those. I mean, like these are tough for me because I'm probably supposed to cut them all. You need multiples to have them save you from bolts, but there's like weirder spots where like Pendelhaven Plus can be saving a creature from a bolt, and then like the 0 mana way of doing that is really valuable, but probably just can't afford to have them in post board. Well, this is a lot more difficult. I guess these are a little worse without the mutagenic growths and just the general pacing of the game that I'm going to take. And the question is like, do I want this over one of these? I don't want to be too interactive, especially on the play. I think I prefer this. We'll have to be wary of this Temple Garden that hasn't been relevant yet. Be thinking about wanting to grab that. Weird hand for the matchup. Obviously really land heavy, but it's nice to have multiple infectors. I'll have to take it really slowly, though. Try to find some protection spells. I'm kind of inclined to mulligan, but that feels so greedy. With already, like, all I want on the matchup is lots of creatures, and I already have a couple. I think I am going to take a mulligan. But it's really, that one's really close for me. This hand obviously has a lot of issues. I think it's better than the average 5, particularly with 2 infectors and ways to keep it. The become immense is quite bad though, which makes it kind of close to a 5. Wow, what a weird one. I think I do have to top that. Well, this Temple Garden isn't free. It is not free. Normally that would be likely another, I guess the last Infect list I played had 3 breeding pools, so often another way to cast these Blighted Agents, but yeah, we really do need the extra land though. Another Inkmoth, super awkward. Newly controlled. I will bash for 1 here. But again, like, I'm still contented with this. Sometimes you gotta play it slow. I would consider letting that resolve if we had an island, but obviously we do not. A lot of times in this match we have to play it slow anyway, and we have four infectors, which is a lot, and it can really, really help in the matchup, so I shouldn't be too displeased. I think I am still gonna fire one of these up. You can definitely make the argument that since now I can cast a Blighted Agent this turn, I don't want to do that. But again, I'm so Infector heavy. I guess then I would get super blown out by... This is interesting. I would get super blown out by Electrolyze if I tried to cast a Blighted Agent. I'd probably just have to say go, actually. So maybe this play is incorrect. But looks like we're going to get clicked anyway. I think I just let this resolve. I'm not going to, like, Vines this just to have them block it. They probably want to block it anyway. I'm fine with casting this. Maybe I am supposed to Vines this, since I'm not really going to be leaving out protection spells for my guys most of the time anyway. Man, Blossoming Defense just being super awkward again. Yeah, maybe I was just supposed to Vines. Especially since I'm, like, sort of inherently land light. And this probably just gets like electrolyzed or something. Oh, well, that's fine for me. This kind of feels cryptic-y, which means I don't want to cast this first. Let's just combat. I'm very surprised that I got to untap with this. That's very fortunate. Alright, they just take the damage, so I'll cast this now. Maybe they cryptic bounce, counter, and then I recast. Or do this. Helix now. Alright, well, I'll definitely fire this off. They probably have like Logic Knot or something of the sort. Could just recast this instead, which is potentially better since it looks like I'm going to resolve this, but I don't know. It's kind of close. I don't want to like have this die, then cast my only other one while I'm still holding this Blossoming Defense that I don't have mana up for anymore. So I think it's better to just try to save it there, even if it's not necessarily that likely to pan out. It is weird to me that they let me untap with Helix. I guess they had a lot of information about my hand, but... And it's pretty hard for things to go wrong with that much info. Don't really think there's any reason to go for anything here. But I do think I attack for one. My opponent has perfect info, and they've already fired off 2 Helixes. If they had Snap, they'll get to Snap Path. I don't think holding this up defensively is really going to benefit me here, especially with the Shaper Sanctuary and like the Geists in my deck and all that. So let's just bash and then cast a Blighted Agent. I mean, I guess they have like Teferi minus into cast removal spells. At least they can't have Electrolyze here, so I don't feel bad about like playing into that potentially. Probably just go with the Disrespect Our Life Total line again, since they are a path deck. Alright, that resolves. That's nice at least. So if it dies, we're gonna get something out of it, unless they minus on the Shaper Sanctuary first. Opponent hits a land. They do have Colonnade up as a blocker now. That's definitely something that's easy to forget from time to time. Minus pass. Well, I definitely believe them. I think they did that way too fast, and if they didn't have something, they would have to think a lot more about, if not just immediately tick up Teferi to try to find something. Drawing this other Blighted Agent is nice. They know about this Blossoming Defense, right? So, or excuse me, Become Immense. Wow, this is a really tough game for us here. I don't think I can animate, and I don't think I can cast this. I do think I just follow up with this. Maybe you should have tapped this instead in case we wanted to play around Remand on this. I guess Remand on this is already just insane and also not likely, so no, this is probably fine. I mean, moreover, it just doesn't play around it because it's Become Immense specifically. Wow, yeah. So they do have the Electrolyze. No Distortion Strike, but I do have the Apostle's Blessing to get past Colonnade potentially with Ink Moth. Yeah, I don't think that's very likely, so it's better for me to try to save this. Feels bad. Like, you can make the argument that if I attack with Ink Moth, it changes like what ways they can interact, but Electrolyze is still one. Yeah, I just don't think there's much to do there. I think we have to play it that way, but I could be wrong. Another Become Immense, and they don't. Yeah, I guess this is just like we probably go for it because this game is obviously just getting way out of control. Super unlikely this is a kill, but please be not a white spell. Another click. That sucks too. Guess we have to do this. But now we still have to get past this colonnade and have a lethal threat. Oh man, and they have a piece of interaction for this Become Immense. Wow. Alright, well, this game is over then. Yeah. That was rough. That was rough. I'm sad we didn't get to see those Geists at all. Obviously, the mulligans hurt a little bit. But yeah, it's a tough matchup, though. There's a lot of back and forth, like you saw how close our previous game was. It's definitely an interesting one. I'm glad we got to play the matchup, but sad, obviously, with how it turned out. Either way, see you for the final round in just a moment.